Hi, this is Dr. Donald Pelto. I have Jason Kurland here, and he is someone that's very excited about health, nutrition, and this interesting topic that everyone likes these days called intermittent fasting. So Jason, thanks for joining the program.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
So tell me a little bit about it. It's been a year, and your life has changed quite a bit in the last year.
It really has. I had been trying to get into shape and to be healthy for a few years prior to the beginning of this year. Been going to the gym, had been trying to eat, as healthy as I could, but I was eating like throughout the whole day, and I was getting larger as far as muscle-wise, but I wasn't really losing a lot of fat. Yeah. And that's really what I was going for, was to try to lose more fat, to have more of like a V-taper kind of a physique, and also just to feel better. Yeah. And I just, through looking, really the internet has been a wonderful thing. And so I, through browsing online about different ways to be healthy and diets and so forth, I had stumbled upon intermittent fasting actually a while back, even a couple of years before, and I just passed by it because it just didn't sound right. It sounded like, I heard the word fasting and I was like, oh, that doesn't sound good. It sounds like you're starving yourself. Like that can't be healthy. And then when I came back to it about a year ago, I decided actually to just read about it a little bit because it seemed to be gaining more popularity. And then the more I read it, I was like, this actually does make some sense, where basically instead of eating throughout the day, I just choose a condensed window of time to eat all my calories for the day, and then the rest of the time I fast, which basically means I don't consume any calories, and all I drink is water and black coffee to not break the fast. So I read about it, and I said, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to try it. So I tried it about January, maybe late January this year, and at first, I took it slow, which they recommended.
Okay. And how did you ease yourself into it?
Yeah, so I started off basically just skipping breakfast and then starting to eat it around noontime, which actually wasn't that hard for me because I sometimes didn't eat breakfast anyway, so it actually wasn't too big of a stretch to start eating at noon. And then I'd eat from noon till about like maybe 8 or 9 at night. That's the only window that I ate. Once I got used to that, then I condensed the window. So then I pushed it until 1 o'clock to eat. Okay. And then once that was fine, easy to do, I pushed it to 2 o'clock. And I just kept doing that. And by gradually doing that, it became easier and easier to fast for a longer period of time and to condense the window which I ate. And I'm now at a point where I'm usually doing about a 20-hour fasting and about a 4-hour window when I eat. And I try to time it with my workouts as well. Okay. Yeah, so if anybody was to try this, I would definitely recommend starting in gradually easing into it. Don't start off with a 20-hour fast every day because it's going to be too hard to do it first. You got to get used to it. But
yeah, so just as a kind of a health warning to those that are watching here, first of all, if you're diabetic, you should only do this under a doctor's advice, especially because if you really reduce the amount that you're eating and you're already taking insulin, it's going to really bottom out your blood sugar level, so you really need to be followed by a doctor. Your primary care should be following you if you're doing something like this. You should read the appropriate literature to learn more. On this video, we're going to put some information on the bottom that you can kind of learn more at the end of this video as well. But let's go, just kind of the proof is in the pudding. What we're going to show now is we're going to show a before picture of Jason, and then now we're going to also show an after picture of Jason here. So at this point, we're about 12 months into your kind of healthy lifestyle. And how much are you down? How many inches in your waist?
Yeah,
and pounds?
So I've lost about 50 to 55 pounds, and about 8 pant sizes. So
Wow.
I had to get a whole new wardrobe, which was worth it, So that's really what I was going for, was the waist size. So I just turned 39 recently. I feel the best I've ever felt in my whole life. I mean, I feel great. Never felt this good.
That's great.
I don't get headaches anymore. Not that I was getting too many, but I don't really get bloating or discomfort in my stomach. I just feel great. I have more energy, more mental clarity and focus. So this was absolutely, I just know that this was the right thing for me to do. And and I've talked to some other people. My wife's doing it now too, and she's having very good success with it as well.
That's great.
And there's just so many benefits to it, health-wise. And also, it's very convenient for my lifestyle.
Yeah. So let's talk. Since you brought up the topic of convenience.
Yes.
Why is it convenient? What does it make easier?
Well, the simple fact is I don't have to worry about cooking or preparing food during the day. I don't eat at all during the day. Just eat within that window in the evening. So I used to before this I prepare all my meals out.
So before this, were you doing 3 meals? Were you doing the 6 meal?
I was probably doing 4 to 5 meals.
So the smaller meals
throughout the day, and so I would have to spend a lot of time cooking and prepping, getting all the food in there, taking the food, dealing with all the dishes, all that. It's so much easier now that I don't have to worry about that at all, and I just know that I just don't eat during the day. I know that I just eat, at home, and so I'm not even tempted while I'm at work or during the day, because that's just not when I eat. And one funny kind of bit of information that I read that got me into the intermittent fasting that made sense to me was someone explained, I forget who, that if you think about it, what do they do for babies to help them put on weight? They have them feed all throughout the day. They eat constantly. They're constantly eating because they're supposed to gain fat, they're supposed to gain weight. So it doesn't make sense that if you, as an adult, if you want to lose fat, if you want to lose weight, it doesn't make sense to be eating all throughout the day, because that's the opposite of what it's intended to do. And that just made a whole lot of sense to me, that I shouldn't be eating all throughout the day. I should just be eating during that condensed window, and I should be fasting the rest. And for me, it just worked tremendously.
And how does it differ, in your opinion, let's say fasting versus, I'm sure you tried this before, maybe eating less?
Right.
Like you can eat, let's say you eat 3 meals or 5 meals, but I'm really eating less. Have you tried that? I
did try that, and that didn't work. And I have tried that. And I know a lot of people say, oh, it's all just calories in, calories out, but from what I've read and from my own experience, I'm finding that to not be the case. It's not losing fat is not just a simple calories in, calories out. There's a lot of hormone balance and things with insulin that come into play. And by fasting, I'm keeping my insulin levels really low, and that is allowing my my fat stores to be opened up and to be utilized while I'm fasting. And so it's just a way to burn fat very efficiently. Whereas with the calories in, calories out, it doesn't really work the same way as far as helping you burn the fat. It's more complicated than just that. So I basically eat, all my daily calories within that condensed window. I probably end up eating slightly less because I just don't have enough time to be able to even
so
eat.
I guess that was the question. So within that 4-hour period from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., do you eat the equivalent of what you ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner before?
Pretty close, maybe a little bit less.
And how can you fit that much food into a 4-hour period?
Yeah,
so how do you do that?
It's true.
Do you have breakfast first, and then lunch a couple hours later, and then dinner? Or?
It's funny because I do eat like a big meal when I do eat, and I usually eat like a big meal, and then I do have protein shakes after I work out, and then I might have like a little something a little later before I go to bed. But I probably end up eating a little bit less than I would have otherwise throughout the day.
Okay.
Just because it's that difficult to be able to fit in that much food within a short amount of time. But I'm not eating throughout that whole 4 hours, the entire 4 hours. I'm eating like 1 or 2 meals within those 4 hours.
A couple of big meals.
A couple of big meals, right, exactly.
And from what you read about intermittent fasting, for example, can you eat whatever you want to eat? Are there certain recommendations? Do you think, let's say you didn't change anything about what you eat, and you only changed when you eat. Do you think you would have seen the same benefits?
I think I would have seen some benefits, but not as many as I've had.
Okay.
So I have read about that even if you keep the standard diet where you're eating a good amount of carbohydrates and sugars and things like that, that people that do intermittent fasting can still have some benefits and lose some fat because of their fasting period. But for me, it's been kind of like a 2-part thing where I've done the intermittent fasting, but I've also combined that with mostly like a ketogenic carnivorous type diet where I'm eating basically all proteins and fats and virtually no carbohydrates, no sugars.
Okay.
And I feel like the combination of those two things, the intermittent fasting and that type of very, very low carb diet, has been the most effective thing. The combination has really been what's helped me.
So for those that are watching, we're going to kind of define a few things. Like ketogenic is very similar to what the Atkins, or some people call it paleo. Basically, it's a diet that's high in protein, that's low in carbs.
Right, high in fats.
And high in
and
fats.
Ketogenic, from what I've read, it's almost more focused on the fats, and then you have like moderate protein and very, very low carbohydrates. And I did that. I've done that for a while.
You were doing it even before this. You just weren't seeing the
I
results.
was, exactly. I was seeing some results, but not nearly as good. And then the more that I was doing it, the more that I read, I started reading about more of a carnivorous diet where you're basically eating just animal products mostly, proteins and fats. And I gave that a try, and I've been doing that mostly for a while, and that's actually even had better results.
So proteins, fats, and then vegetables probably.
Well, actually, I've mostly cut out those as well.
So protein and fat.
That's right.
So let's talk about a typical.
Sure.
What are you eating tonight?
Sure, I will, and I do have vegetables every once in a while.
Okay.
I do. So almost every day I eat steak and whole eggs. And a hard cheese.
You cook the eggs?
I have hard-boiled eggs.
Okay.
And it's very convenient because I get them at the grocery store. They're already peeled.
Yeah.
I eat the whole egg. So I eat steak. I eat hard-boiled eggs. I eat like a hard cheese.
Hard cheese, like a Parmesan or something.
Yum.
You heat it up and.
I don't actually. I just have it a hard cheese, from the grocery store, and it's got fat in it and protein. It's not anything low fat. And I do one thing that's I do a little different than just a pure carnivore diet, as they say, which I guess is gaining popularity. Is I do throw in some walnuts, macadamia nuts. I just feel like I like those.
Those are high fat.
They're high fat, and they have a lot of good other nutrients and vitamins and things like that. And so, yeah, that's mostly what I've been kind of gravitating towards.
Okay.
And
bacon?
Yep, I eat bacon. Sometimes, actually, as a treat, I get these bacon wrapped scallops from Target that I really like as like a treat. And I actually just went to get some recently, and they were out of them, so I was really kind of sad. But that's kind of like a treat for myself. And I've actually found that taking out a lot of the fiber out of my diet has actually helped my digestion.
Okay.
It's actually improved the fact that I've kind of lowered the amount of fiber that I had. I always used to, you're taught, I always used to think that having very, very high fiber is good for you, and it might be for some people, but for myself, I function better on the lower fiber diet. It's just worked better for me.
Yeah.
And so this is what I'm doing is, it's a very stripped down, it's a very basic type diet. And, what they say is if you can do that, then you can kind of add in some things that you might want to add in. And if you tolerate it well, then maybe you can keep it. But if you don't tolerate it well, then you know that you eliminate that. So it's a way to kind of gauge how you respond to food and how it affects you and what you might be sensitive to, and so forth. So,
how about in terms of when you eat that big meal when you get home? How is your energy level? Do you kind of crash and burn? Do you have to take a nap, or do you have a lot of energy?
Well, to be honest, when I do eat, I do get a little tired, and I think it's because all the blood is now rushed to your to digesting the food, and so. But that's part of the reason why I time eating in the evening, because then it actually helps me with sleeping, because I've eaten my nice big meal, and now I'm feeling a little more relaxed and tired, and so it actually helps me sleep. And when I'm fasting throughout the day, my energy level is sky high. I'm super energy, super focused. I don't have that lull in energy that I used to have when I used to eat like throughout the day. And if you eat a big lunch and you're at work or something, you start to feel sluggish in the afternoon. I don't get that anymore because I don't eat during that time. So I've just found that that's just been really helpful for me. Yeah.
Good. And then we're going to kind of segue now. This is kind of what you eat and how you do it. the 4 hour. So is this 7 days a week, this 4 hour window, or do the weekends or like holidays are coming up? We just had some holidays.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
So I try as much as possible to stick to doing my schedule every day of the week. I've been trying to do like once a month where I actually do a 2-day fast, 48-hour fast, and I time that so that right at the end of the 48 hours I do like a workout and then I get to eat. And the reason I do that once a month is not really for the fat reduction qualities. It's for something called autophagy, which is something I read about. That
so let's define the word autophagy. What is that?
So that is where your body's ability to recycle
the weak cells,
the
right?
weak
The dead
cells in your bodies and proteins, right? And it's like a healing mechanism, and it's triggered by fasting. And the longer you fast, the more it kind of kicks into overdrive. So the reason I do that 2-day one is to get the more benefits of the autophagy as a way to almost kind of like reset your immune system a little bit.
Almost like a cleanse.
It's almost like a cleanse, like a natural self cleanse, and I feel great doing that too.
How about the hangry? Do you ever get hangry? Everyone asks about hangry.
Yes, yeah. Well, I did it first when I was doing this, and even throughout, I do go through some periods during my fast where I go through I call it a hunger spell. And
how long does it last, and how do you deal with it?
It's a good question. Sometimes it might last for half an hour, something like that. The way I get through it is I either drink a lot of water, or I have some black coffee, or exercising, going for a walk, doing something to get your mind off it. And then it goes away. And then when it goes away, it's like you don't feel it at all. And then it might come back sometimes. But I think the more I've done it, the less often I get those hunger spells. Yep. But I know how to deal with them when I do get them. And so, yeah, it's just something you have to kind of get used to, you know.
I think fasting, like anything else, it just takes practice.
It does, absolutely. Yeah, practice makes perfect.
It's a new habit that you're learning.
It is. I can't say enough good things about it.
Yeah. So now we're going to segue into this whole realm of, you say, well, you wait till the end of your fast and then you do a workout.
Yes.
People are probably thinking, well, you've been fasting, how are you going to be able to work out?
Right.
Is it healthy? Everyone talks about a pre-workout, a post-workout drink, all these things. Talk about working out, and how often do you work out?
Sure.
And is it every day, and how does it fall in with your fasting schedule?
Thank you. Yeah. So I typically go to the gym and I do weightlifting, like about 3 days a week. So not the whole week, just about like 3 days a week, and I try to do a really good workout. And the reason that I'm timing my workouts at the end of my fast is a couple of reasons. One is since I've been fasting that whole time and my body's been burning fat, that when I exercise and weightlift, it puts the fat burning into even more overdrive. So you get even way more benefit of the fat burning. Also I time it that way so that as soon as I'm done, I can then go eat, because then I'm really hungry. And so some people don't do that. Some people might work out earlier in their fast and then eat later. I've just found that it just works well for me to kind of time it at the end of the fast and then eat. It's funny, I actually still get a great workout, maybe even better than I used to. I don't feel lightheaded or anything. I almost feel like I have more energy. And another thing that I've learned about the fasting is that you produce something called growth hormone, which I think also I time the workouts that way because I've had that growth hormone pumped into overdrive up until when I work out, so that when I work out, it's kind of there too to help preserve muscle from when I'm working out, because when you work out, you're basically tearing your muscles down and so forth. So it's like a preservation type thing.
Yeah. So that's the concern. Are you going to lose muscle, or are you going to lose these other things?
And from my experience, not only have I not lost muscle, I really almost feel like I've gained, gotten harder, and because that was one of the main reasons I was hesitant to even try this, is because I had been working out for years and didn't want to lose the hard-earned muscle that I had put on, and I thought that by fasting you'd do that, but after more research about growth hormone that's produced, realizing that no, it's just the opposite. You preserve your muscle mass and you just burn fat. It doesn't burn through your muscle. And so it's exactly what I was looking for.
Neat.
Yeah.
Neat. And so any good resources or websites or things like that if people are interested in learning more about this?
It's a good question. There's a lot of different people on YouTube that I've been following and researching about it. Somebody named Thomas DeLauer. There's a doctor named Dr. Eric Berg. I think that's his first name. It's Dr. Berg. And actually, my new favorite is this doctor named Dr. Ken Berry. He's got a Southern accent. Those are some of the people that I've been following and reading about, and some of them are doctors, and they're speaking about praising the benefits of it as well, yeah, I definitely done a lot of research on it. I've read some books. I read a book called The Big Fat Surprise by Nina Tegholtz, I think is her name.
Okay.
Talking about like the ketogenic carnivore type diet and a lot of the research and stuff like that. So that was very helpful as well.
Do you ever get bored eating the same thing?
That's a great question. People ask me that.
Like holidays are coming up.
Yeah.
Do you ever go off the wagon a little bit? I do. Can you enjoy other things?
I can. I do slightly. Like on Thanksgiving, I did have a couple of things that I don't normally have, and it tasted amazing, you know?
That's what I was going to ask. After you fasted for 20 hours, does food taste the same or does it taste better?
It tastes so much better. So much better. I mean, it really does. If you think about it, just having not eaten for so long, it's going to taste good. So even healthy things going to taste good. But no, and every once in a while I will break my fast earlier in a day. Like recently at my work, we had like an office kind of get together at a restaurant, and we went there at about like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, and I ate. And so I don't kill myself over that as far as worrying so much that I didn't stick exactly to what I'm trying to do. That's okay. And the other thing is, if you break your fast earlier, you could always end your fast earlier to keep on track. You could do that if you wanted. I think for me, consistency helps me. It helps keep me focused on what I'm doing, and it's like almost like comforting to know that this is what I do, and I know there's not too many surprises. But I know that if I want to deviate from it a little bit because of a family get together or a holiday or something like that, not the end of the world. And it's been very easy to get back on track and lose no ground. So.
Now, when they talk about fasting, they talk about two other things that really affect the insulin level. One would be the amount of sleep you get, and then the amount of stress. Have you ever had moments like where that affects you, not sleeping enough, or things like that?
Not really. And as I mentioned, I think by timing my meals in the evening, it actually has helped me sleep better.
Yeah. Got a big full belly.
Big full belly, and it helps me sleep. Yeah. And as far as stress, I really feel like my stress levels have been reduced from doing what I'm doing. The intermittent fasting, but also the type of food that I'm eating.
Yeah, I don't think they don't say it causes stress. What they say is that, for example, if you have young kids at home in there, they're not sleeping, you're not sleeping, you're stressed. It's a lot harder to do longer fasts. Maybe a 20-hour fast is fine, but if you're trying to do 2, 3, 4-day fasts, it's harder when you have those stressors in life. I
would imagine that would be the case. Yeah, I would. You have to do what works for you in your lifestyle, and so if you can't do it every day because it doesn't work, then that's okay. I'd say whenever you can do it, as far as my own experience goes, it's helpful as much as you can do it. And like my wife does it, her window isn't quite as condensed as mine. Yeah. It's pretty close, but not quite as condensed, but that's what works for her. And I actually convinced my boss to try it.
I was going to say, has it shaped other people around? Your wife, your boss?
At first she thought I was crazy for doing it. Oh, you're starving yourself, because that's when they hear the word fasting, that's what people think. And I really don't even like the term. I think it should be called like time interval eating rather than fasting, because when people hear fasting, oh, you must be starving yourself. And then you try to explain, no, that's not what I'm doing. I'm eating the same amount of food. It's just within a shortened window. And now my boss has tried it, and so far I think she's enjoying it and doing well. So, I've talked to some other people about it. I think it's, not everybody. It's not for everybody. Yeah. It's not for everybody. Not everybody has the need or to do it or would want to do it. But if I feel like, from my own experience, if you're somebody who has tried other things and they haven't worked, as far as for fat loss and just feeling good, maybe give it a try. But research about it and start off slow.
Start off slow, research, maybe talk to your doctor.
Talk to your doctor,
especially, once again, especially if you're diabetic, you should talk to your doctor just so you don't go too low. There can be problems. But for a lot of people, they get good results when they have diabetes with doing this, because it's a way very similar. If you kind of use this analogy, bariatric surgery. Many people get off all their diabetes medicine after having bariatric surgery. That's the same as just you can't eat. So it's fasting.
Right.
It's a way of dealing with it. Now, in terms of you, are you with this 55 to 60 pound loss? Are you done? Are you think you're? The question is it going to get to a point where maybe you're going to have to do less days of these 20-hour fasts, or you think you can do this forever? It's
a great question. Not 100% sure.
Probably just equalize it.
Yeah. I'm at a point where I'm happy with where I'm at, but I also really enjoy doing what I'm doing.
The ease of it, right?
Yeah, the ease of it, the convenience of it, how I feel. So not only do I think that this is something that I wanted to do to just kind of kickstart like a fat burning, I also feel like this is just something that's part of my life, because also for the other benefits, the autophagy, having low insulin levels, to protect against certain kinds of illnesses and so forth.
They say that cancer and other types
cancers, of things. and diabetes, heart diseases, and things like that. So I feel like in so many ways this is something that I just want to continue for. Perfect. I can't imagine not doing it. And the number one thing is just how good I feel doing it.
Yeah.
I feel so much better in so many ways. And all the other benefits are almost like icing on the cake, I feel like.
Yeah.
So I plan on just having this be what I do, and I don't find it to be difficult at all. It's not like I'm suffering. Like
that's
when
a cool thing.
That you're suffering to have to fast and do the whole thing. But no, and just the opposite. It's a convenience and a comfort to do what I'm doing.
Great. Well, thank you, Jason. So
you're
Jason's he's lost about 55 to 60 pounds, been doing it for about a year, this intermittent fasting. It's something to look up. There'll be some more information at the bottom of this video if you'd like to learn more. And thank you, Jason, for coming in.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm honored. Thanks.